Okay, excellent. All right. Well, yeah, this is my one of my favorite talks to do during this season to just remind me of really where this all started, where some of the plans came up for building Softwave and scaling it to where we've to the point we're at now. But this is out in Capitola, California. That's my lovely wife, Sherry, of 33 years. And we flew out to California to train two great doctors out there. Dr. Scott Kramer, who's up in Reddings, and then also Dr. Duncan McCullum, who we trained on that day, September 7th, which was a Saturday. And I realized a couple things. I realized at that point that there was no experts in the continental US on shockwave, specifically Softwave. And what we had done over the previous couple years and how we were on way to build $1 million Softwave clinic. And it was at this point when I saw Dr. Duncan McCollum, who had practiced for over 32 years, and he was part of the waiting list practice, which meant he would give year plans to people, adjust them 60 plus times over that year, and charge X amount of money. Well, over 3 decades, his right shoulder was going out from so many adjustments, and he didn't know if he could still practice. And we realized quickly that he was going to be able to adjust a third less and make 33% more money. And that's one of the things that we started implementing. The training days at Dr. Scott Kramer's was was awesome because he had a very busy clinic, and I think Red Bluff is one of his clinics as well. And we had an open, huge waiting room area, and we had people come in for 3.5 hours, and they would get in this half moon, and they would sit and wait for their turn to come up. And we had somebody video taping the whole time. And it was at that point that I realized, hey, you can not only is it a great opportunity to train clinics and their staff, but also educate the 10 or 12 people that were waiting in line to get Softwave treatment for the first time. So, 400 treatments later or trainings later, personal ones, we've generated between 4,000 and $9,000 on that initial launch day. And over those 400 trainings that we've done in person, I've generated over $2 million just for those doctors who've invested in Softwave. And I see the sky going only higher with what we're about to do. So that was one of them. The other one was every place that I put a Softwave, I realized that I could, with doing about $1,000 in ad spend, that I could generate basically 27 to $32,000 per month in revenue. And as I put these devices in different areas, I also realized that, hey, I should start buying these buildings where we put up these Softwaves or locations. So, since that date, I've probably doubled my real estate investments over the last 6 years. And my net worth doubled as well. So it's pretty cool. But let's talk about this because, let the healing begin. Softwave, many of you know, is just a futuristic device that helps modulate inflammation, downregulate it, works with your innate immune system, activates your own endogenous stem cells, and reduces acute and chronic pain. If some of you are not able to, um, getting the results that you wanted or want to add a second device or want to take it to the next level, I highly recommend that you scan that QR code and set up a time to chat. If you're not hitting the numbers that you wanted, then this is a good time to reevaluate who you're using for digital marketing. What is your conversion rate? And we'll talk about cost of acquisition of a new patient. And that's important. Do you guys remember this? gentleman, well, Ron was like the fifth Beatle. He was actually the third as a founder. Ron Wayne was a third founder of Apple. Um, and he cashed in his shares for about $800 and literally got a check for $1,500. But what he failed to realize is that 10% of what he owned in Apple in today's market would be worth over $200 billion. So it's like sometimes people don't have the stomach to invest. Some people don't have the time or energy. Um, but that's important to stick with it. Consistency is key. So yeah, I mean, how do you get patients to heal faster, reduce pain, improve blood supply? Who am I and why would you even want to come on this call today? I'm the developer of the Less is More. I think that's something that I'm very proud of. It's where I've taught thousands of clinics and doctors how to utilize this very powerful, intelligent energy in a way to microdose it, in a way that's honoring to the body, as well as tricking the body into thinking there's a new injury without damaging tissue whatsoever. Um, for an Italian American kid that grew up in New York with, dyslexia and ADHD, I used to dream about working on professional athletes. Now, I'm a consultant to the Miami Dolphins. That's Dr. John Boone, Jim Maurer, who's been with the Dallas Cowboys for almost 40 years now. And, success attracts other and it brings successful people into your life. So know your numbers. Back in 2009, myself and a couple partners, we built between 2009 to 2014, we built six neuropathy clinics around Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. And, we were the first to do that. And we owned the market and we had over 200 leads per month on a $25,000 ad spend for six clinics. And over time, it got very expensive to market to neuropathy patients. There was a lot of copycats. Blueprint blew up, and there was, neuropathy doctors were a dime a dozen. And the cost of acquiring a neuropathy patient was approaching $290 just to get them to come sit in my, seat. That doesn't even mean they're signing up for care. And during that same time, as we were launching our digital campaign for arthritis and general pain, we were literally getting $2.50 per click and costing us between $8 and $12 to get a general pain patient in. So it was really easy for me to transfer, those the ad spend that we were doing for neuropathy, and I could get nearly 30 um, cheeks in the seats, they say, 30 general pain and arthritic patients in my clinic for the same price of getting one neuropathy patient. So, I mean, like organically, I still get neuropathy patients. I still put my protocol up against any other clinic in North America for being effective and efficient and not taking 2 hours of patients, treatment time at home. So, yeah, I mean, I quickly switched and I wrote this sign one day as cars were driving by, but neuropathy marketing is dead. And because it became too expensive. And I'll show you how to move your clinic, out of the red zone, the red waters, and really, everybody's fighting for that 12% of the population that will utilize chiropractic in your town. And, with Softwave, it was like blue ocean. I was not competing with anyone for the first few years. But now with over 70 software providers in Metro Atlanta, it's getting a little thick, but organically, I still drive a lot of people in there. So look at the strategies, right? I look at the red ocean is more like people, the doctors who buy the wrong device, radial devices or one of these waves, right? There's a lot of copycats out there with Hydrowave, OmniWave, StemWave, Turkey Wave. You don't know which way to go. But Remember, Softwave's been around for 22 years. We've spent over 25 million on research and development. We have over 40 patents, over 200 peer-reviewed studies. We're in 98 different universities globally. We're not some one-hit wonder. So you've got the, longevity and the consistency. That, by the way, that's Dr. Josh Axe right there, teaching one of our classes. So, there's two ways to look at it. And you have to, when exploring, like, oh, I'm going to get another device or getting your first device, it's important to understand there's a lot of noise out there. And there's a lot of marketing people that are like, oh, we're the next best thing. Well, again, these clinics, these other devices that I talked to you about, they have one study and it's a white paper between the three of them, right? And some have been around for 3 months, some have been around for a year, and some have been around for 2 years. Um, but I look at it as, they have no track record right now. As software providers, you're FDA registered, but also class one and class two cleared. So we've gone over those in the past. If you have any questions, this is German engineered, designed, and manufactured, shipped over from there. The research is apparent. The patient experience, I call it the predictable patient outcomes. The support we have, the training we do, I love it. So my promise to you is really, I'll teach you some of the steps that are important in really understanding the trends and the way things are moving, right? Um, and how to position your clinic successfully there. Um, I made a prediction back in 2018 that, there's going to be two types of clinics in the future. Those who have SoftWave and those who don't. And those who don't are going to be like flip phones from 2008. Okay. They were cool. You could text and everything, but they weren't smartphones. It wasn't like having a second brain where you could store all your data. So understand that. And I still see that trend. This is Professor Everett Rogers' diffusion of innovation model, and this goes for any new technology that's coming on the into society. It could have been a toaster oven. It could be a gas-powered car. It could be an electric car. In this case, I'm looking at Softwave. And even after being here for 22 years, we still are only tapping into 2% of the chiropractic profession and less in the medical. Collectively, if you look at all of the different providers who have shockwave devices, we are approaching that, 16% where you jump that chasm and you see the floodgates opening. I don't see it stopping. This is a billion-dollar emerging sector, and you just have to pick the right team and know the trends. I will say that the four teams that were in the playoffs for the NFL, the last four teams, they all had Softwave. So obviously the two, um, the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks both have Softwave. And guys, that's no coincidence. It's allowing players to recover quicker, play deeper into the late seasons, and that's what it's all about. So there's the people shark, Damon Johns, and he taught me that we eat no's for breakfast. We hear no all the time. You've got to find um, how to get yeses out of people. And if you're successful as a chiropractor, those same traits will make you successful as a software provider or running a software satellite or business clinic. Um, and again, it attracts awesome people. That's Jeff Foxbury, Foxworthy. You may be a wrong, you may be a goofball if you spent $52,000 on the wrong type of shockwave device. That's what I told him. So, you know, how do you define yourself? How do you the people who you work with and you surround yourself, will you become? And this is, Josh Axe, Dan Sullivan, David Toohill, great mentors and helped me really kind of find my mission and find what I was good at in life a few years ago. And what it is educating doctors and other patients about the benefits of this amazing device. So, I always say I might not get to heaven, but I can bring a little heaven to earth. And this technology does that and helps decrease pain and suffering for so many people. This is Larry David. He's, just a funny human being. I was lucky enough to be able to treat him as a patient. And he now has his own device that he utilizes his home. But it's like this is the type of things that are brought into my life because of Softwave. It wasn't me, you know, but the doors open because of it. So it's like, I see these different consultants out there telling you how to charge seven to $10,000 for a neuropathy patient. Well, let me tell you, the neuropathy people that walked into my office from 2009 till present, they are very disabled. They are most of the time don't have a job, can't stand up, can't walk. So they don't have money. And by the way, my mom was a type 2 diabetic. My wife is a type 1. She was chemo-induced neuropathy. So it's like, I've never in 30 years seen a patient ask for more expensive healthcare. So these are, this Softwave helped solve problems for so many people. And that's what technology is solving problems. You know the secret to getting rich? And I have this book right next to my in my office. It's Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. And the key in life is if someone pays you $1, you offer them $2 back in service and over deliver. And a happy, satisfied patient will tell many of their friends and family. So just, funny. This doc did over 31,000 in the first month. Dr. Dan collected 19,000 in the first 7 days. Dr. Dan Jurgens, who's one of my national trainers now. This is when I was out in, let's see, where was I? Palm Springs, over Burning Man. Here we go.
This is the first time in history that anyone ever sold
Yeah.
an extra coaxial shockwave device. 250 people.
I was in an air balloon.
Boom.
I mean, I'm selling them in a car, in a boat, in a plane, and now in an air balloon. So again, Dr. Inman collected 4,800 in the first week. He didn't even have his machine yet. You guys know it. Dr. Josh, right out here in Georgia, did 50,000 collected in his first 2 months. 28,000 collected in the first 2 weeks. It works. Not only does it get your patients well, but it will make your clinic financially stable. And our goal is to help duplicate your chiropractic income. So if you're making 25 to 30,000 per month with chiropractic, we want to 2x that. We want to duplicate that with Softwave. And you got to reverse engineer it, right? You've got to build a life for you and your family. And what's important? You know what's important for me? Spending time with my children and their spouses as they get older. And a real sign of success is if they want to hang out with you. It helps if you pay for trips like to this, to glaciers and stuff. But building that time for your family and really, it all comes down to knowing your numbers. Track your data, have a vision. One of the things that's helped me over the last 2.5 years is having data biologics in my clinic and tracking my patients' VAS and functional scores, what's happening with them. So for the last 2.5 years, we've tracked every knee patient that came in, and they came in with a VAS of 7. And after 1 month, they're down to a 3.5. 2 months from that point, they're at 2.5. And then 1 year later, they're at a 1.5. So they continue to heal. And know what your acquisition costs are. Know what your case visits. I did a talk in early December about the $25,000 per month blueprint. If you want that, send it. If you miss that, just DM me and I'll get it to you, okay? But, I'm going to show you how to tap into a hot regenerative market, um, where you don't have to spend an arm and a leg to get a medical director, a nurse practitioner, then buy goofy exosomes or biological fluids where you don't know where they're coming from. This is what we will help you. By the way, Larry David had bought a Storz radial device for $20,000 that one of his medical doctors had talked him into doing. And then he called me after, this is like a year after I treated him. And he said, Matt, this device I got isn't getting me the same results as your device. And I said, well, what did you buy? And he sends me a picture. He loves to FaceTime. And I said, well, you bought the wrong device, Larry. You can't buy a cheap, 15 or $20,000 device and think you're going to get same results as, a hospital grade medical device. So this is very consumer driven as well. Do you know that every month there are 50,000 consumers searching for find a Softwave provider near me or softwaveclinics.com? The second best advice I can give you on this is sign up for softwaveclinics.com. It's $99 a month. We have over 400 doctors. It's a true marketing co-op where we're putting in money and we're working with Google to optimize those certified clinics. Again, this is from Larry David, telling me for treatment. This is him FaceTiming me on my birthday, April 9th. Don't forget it, people. So, why is it important? What is it? I love the story of this young man because Edwin Barnes had a vision that he wanted to go work for Thomas Edison, and he jumped on a train. He was like a hobo, and he worked his way over like 10 days to New Jersey, and he showed up at the Edison, facility, and he looked like a hobo. And he came in there, and he told the front desk people that he was here to work with Mr. Thomas Edison, and the people kind of laughed a little bit, and so they Thomas Edison came out to meet him and said, "Well, you've traveled so far. I will give you a job as a janitor in my facility." So for months, he swept the floors, but he was around Thomas Edison and had to was able to sit and have lunch with him and talk and tell him about his vision and what he wanted to do. And when Thomas Edison came out with the dictating machine, it was amazing. But his current sales team was like, it's impossible to sell. Nobody will want it. Um, so, Edwin Barnes overheard this and said, listen, give me the opportunity. I'll sell the hell out of this thing. And he basically got an exclusive contract nationwide to sell this amazing Ediphone or dictaphone, this Edison dictating machine, and made hundreds of thousands, if not millions. It is said that he had 30 different suits and would wear a different suit every day of the month. So pretty cool. But his tagline was made by Edison, installed by Barnes. And again, this is what, working with Softwave has done for my career, and I'm sure for many of your others. And, but I love this quote from Abraham Lincoln: the best way to predict your future is to create it. So it's time to take actions. Many of you have ideas or ways of scaling this or opening up a satellite office. These are great ideas. Now you have to put like the pedal to the metal, right? You have to get the action going. And if you have one of those, give me a call. I will help you. When you grow your goals and dreams are more important than distraction. Welcome to the 1% club of these software providers, right? We've really, created a productivity and profitability increasing system. And, my goal for each of my devices is to get 23 new patients per month, and each new patient is around 1180. So 23 times 1180 case average is 27,000 per month. 27 times 12 is $324,000 a year. How do you make a, um, a $1 million an idea, a multi-million dollar idea? It's consistency. I've done it for 9 years, and this has just been an added bonus. It's been a cherry on top of my 30-year career. So, after 10 years, we're looking at close to an extra $4 million. dollars. I love that. Allows you to buy that dream house or that lake house. And you're seeing us grow. We have 2,000 clinics across North America. We're at Harvard, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic. We're in 42 professional sporting teams now. You know, check that out. 42. And again, everybody in the Super Bowl has Softwave. James Bradley was the first NFL orthopedist to bring it into the NFL. Martin O'Malley, I love what he says. I've got three of these. I'm not here to discuss who's got the best Shockwave. I just have three. Beyonce is taking hers on tour for the second time. And my friend, Olympic athlete and US Open champion Graham McDowell, he travels with one. Martin O'Malley is the foot and ankle specialist for the NBA, the PGA, and the NFL. And I love what he said. If you're practicing sports medicine or working with professional athletes in 2022, then you have to incorporate Softwave. In short, ESWT using the OrthoGold machine is one of our most commonly employed biological treatment modalities. It is well tolerated by patients and has markedly improved clinical outcomes compared to other modalities. Okay. And I'm not going to get in. That's Martin O'Malley in the OR. So mechanotransduction is important, right? It's electrohydraulically produced sound waves. And, it's the same technology that we've used for over 45 years to break up kidney stones and biliary stones with an 85% success rate. It works. Simply put, it's a new twist on an old technology. And the devices you have or you're looking at are either third or fourth generation lithotripsies. Okay. Very good. Good, good. Let me just see what else we have here. Mechanotransduction so important. And what we see in common out here is the fact that um, we see supersonic sound waves in out there in the world, right? We see what's happening with this technology and how these sound waves help compress the cell membrane and then expand it by 10%. And this creates an innate immune response is key. And it basically, wherever you place it on the human body, there's a positive biological effect. And it helps improve cell membrane permeability, helps shed microvesicles, messenger RNA, and exosomes, and helps activate stem cells within minutes to your treated area. Now, I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, cortisone will be considered barbaric. Why? Because there's over 33 negative side effects, including, creating osteoporosis in the area or osteopenia. It also can accelerate degeneration in the area that you're working on. Plus, it weakens your immune system. So, here's your mitochondrial before and after. I love that view. It helps improve circulation. Someone from a Softwave who's been around for a couple of years asked if this was a real patient, if this could be verified. And I was like, yeah, it was my patient. And I worked on her. It took 3 minutes. And I have the video on my YouTube page. But again, helps improve blood circulation, releasing VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, helps decrease inflammation and swelling, that inflammatory soup that gets caught up. And, here's the things it does. But I love what patients say. There's nothing else like this technology in the world. I went yesterday for the first time, and today my arthritic foot is pain-free. And we responded. This is from ATL Pain Institute, my clinic. Great news. Studies show that if you get good relief on the first visit, you should notice continued relief in subsequent visits. So use it as a way to educate your community, right? And these are key to growing, understanding these important factors, right? Fix your phones first. Before you spend an extra penny on marketing, you need to look at that option as well. Um, and, we're at over 2,000 clinics across North America. I love watching us grow. Softwave University, it continues to grow as well with over 3,100 members from 35 countries. It's a great open source, free for you to utilize the top protocols that are out there. I want you guys to get more involved with that. I'd love for you to share your patient success stories as well as share other doctor success stories. So we're almost done. We've had little limited time together to hang. But again, my bottom line is we're not teaching you how to talk to your patients. We're really teaching you how to talk to the world. Because guess what? If you're like Tim Del Medico up in Syracuse, New York, and you have the sports information officer come in from Syracuse University and get wonderful treatments on Softwave. But not only did Tim talk to him about his own treatment and his condition, but he also talked about how the athletes at Syracuse University could benefit. Hence, we have a device in there. So again, this is the best way to contact me, Dr. Matt Doduro. This is my work cell. We're also really excited to be launching a new website that is sellyoursHockwave.com or tradeyourshockwave.com. If you're like Larry David and bought the wrong device, I'm happy to inform you that Larry has updated and upgraded to utilize Softwave on a regular basis as part of his regenerative care. He's 78 years old, still plays golf 3 days a week. He's about 8% body fat, eats really well. It's pretty cool. So yeah, who am I and why is it important? I brought over 31 years of healthcare as a chiropractor, over 22 years in healthcare compliance. I'm an adjunct professor at Life University, over 15 years in management of medical facilities, 9 years of sales for Softwave with over 900 sales, generating over $70 million in revenue for Softwave, and personally trained now over 400 clinics. And something I always remind my doctors and other salespeople is the first 10 months I had 110 doctors say no and say, Doduro, you're swimming upstream, trying to bring some new type of technology. So that's it. If you have questions, if you guys want to figure out how to get the best device out there, then I'd set up a call. If you're not tracking your data, if you're not on Data Biologics, set up a call with me and let me help you. Yeah, I see Dr. Lisa Ortiz. Thank you for coming on. I don't see any questions. I'll keep it real brief tonight and let you guys get back to your families. Dr. Luke Harrison, thank you for jumping on. And if we don't have any other questions, I will check with you guys. We'll be having a thing in another month. So thank you for attending. And without further ado, till next time, thank you.